Hey, how you doing, bro? It's good to see you again. But before we start this video with my amazing story to tell you, I wanted to actually tell you that perhaps you stumbled onto this video after scrolling on some edits, some cold ass Sigma edits, or maybe you're contemplating whether this is worth it or not. By the time I finish this video, it'll probably be like an hour long, or 50 minutes, 40 minutes, just around there. But you're probably contemplating whether you should full screen this, look into my eyes, and actually pay attention, take notes after every big point or so. You're probably contemplating that, right? I guarantee you'll learn at least one or two things from this video. And I put a lot of time in this script. I took a whole chunk of my morning, like 2.5 hours of my morning, straight out of bed into this task. Well, actually, I did some meditation before this task, but you get the point. So the basics of it is finding a purposeful task and building an upward spiral routine. Basically, you can become the guy in the Limitless movie. And that brings me to my story. On the first few days of coming back to the UK from a long 2 months holiday in Malaysia, I was slowly building up my routine again, slowly perfecting my routine so that every day I felt this good productivity feeling. So whenever you finish a big bout of work, of hard work, and you feel this proud feeling, so that is the feeling I was optimizing for. Every day was getting better and better, and literally my habit tracker over there, that I have this measurement on my habit tracker, which is my productivity happiness level. And from the first day, it was 70%, which is already pretty good from the baseline that I judged it from, which is Malaysia times, which honestly, back in Malaysia, it was so out of control and I couldn't really get much work done over there because family members were coming out of nowhere. There was random snakes coming into the house, and then like my whole family like made so much commotion about it, and then it's just a bunch of noise basically. You can't really get some deep solitary work done. And then on the second day, it's 85%, and then on the third day, it's 95%. And on that day of 95%, I experienced this childlike happiness and this, I guess you could say, if you ever experienced flow before, I guess you could say this is like having sort of the flow dopamine in your head 24/7, just at least for a long time, for the whole period of the day, after you completed this big bout of work. And you know, if it's your purposeful task, fun fact, it carries on to the next day as well. So if you, let's say day one, you work super hard on this task, you work like fucking 6 hours on this shit in total, and then you sleep, and then the next day you look forward to your work, you look forward to it, and you just think back to yesterday, and that flow happiness comes back into your system just like that. Topic 1. Limitless movie is literally just a guy in flow 100% of the time and present with every single task he does. Going to the toilet, breathing air, looking up to the ceiling, and literally the ceiling telling him which stock to buy. Like specifically with one scene in the movie where he's walking past everyone and he's looking kind of swag, he's gaining confidence, he's walking through the crowd, and you'll find that if you've watched the movie before, he looks through a lens of more color. Everything seems more vibrant and more colorful. And although this doesn't happen in real life, the movie directors or whoever edited the movie makes a good representation of what it feels like after completing a giant flow work block of perhaps like 5 or 6 hours, and then you go out to the street, you'll find that it actually feels like that. You literally feel like the guy in the movie. You'll feel with the song, the bow 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 bow. You literally feel like that guy walking through crowds. You're the man. You have that amazing productivity. You're like basically ripping off of a successful feeling. So let's say you're at the top now, and you have all of the money, you have all of the things you ever achieved, and you've just hit it. You've basically taken a sliver of that because you've worked so hard throughout the day. Now you're walking through the streets like a man, like a freed man with literal no thoughts and anxiety at all. And in this guide, we're going to try to aim to get you to be in flow most of the time and be happy overall and become the guy in the Limitless movie in real life. So a realistic example of the Limitless guy. I believe it's a purposeful task, so something that fulfills your purpose. Perhaps it's a business, perhaps it's something to do, perhaps it's literally cooking or gardening, which there's nothing wrong with that as long as you can monetize it and then eventually like retire your mum, your family, etc. But purposeful task that makes you happy, an upward spiral, optimized routine. So a routine that literally feeds into itself. What I mean by upward spiral is literally sleep, diet, and maybe exercise. I think that's the 3 things I listed down, probably. It's just, if you think about it, if you have good sleep, everything else improves. But if you have a good diet and you time your, whatever time you go to eat, and then you eat good, that makes your sleep better, and then sleep makes everything else better. So it's like a constant flywheel that just gets better and better and better and better and better with each improvement. Like, it just feeds back into itself to get better and better and better. Of course, with you feeding it like new knowledge about health and new knowledge about sleep and etc. But just, we're going to aim to get a upward spiral routine, what I like to call an upward spiral routine, plus a purposeful task. So in this guide, we're going to be covering fully how to get a purposeful task, how to tell you're in a purposeful task, how to tell what type of purposeful task is right for you, upward spiral, how to perfect your routine, and that's what this guide is about. Topic 1.1, purposeful task / business found. So in this section, we're going to be largely talking about the purposeful task and how to know you're in the purposeful task from my experience, other people's advice that I've heard. How you know what your purposeful task / business is really actually 3 things. Number 1 is it brings you into a flow state. Flow state is sort of this state where you can just pass by hours really quickly. If you just get into it, there's 0 thoughts, but you blink and you focus on the task, right? You blink, 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 blink. 3 and 4 hours have passed. 3 or 4 hours, literally just in a blink of a moment. And you're like, what the fuck? How did that go so fast? And that just means you're in flow. And another sign is literally after you exit flow, you feel this sort of proud feeling. You feel this sort of happy feeling inside of you that if you've never felt before, I guess you can call this the true happiness, rather than cheap dopamine like scrolling on TikTok or playing video games. But the 2 other things to tell if this is your purposeful task is 1, 0 bad habits. Once you discover and fully put yourself into this purposeful task, so as in you quit all of your other things. I know this is pretty hard to do if you have Asian parents, etc. But you quit all of these side hustles. What I mean by this is the piano lessons your mum's forced you to take, the guitar lessons your mum's forced you to take, just all of these side things. Once you found this purposeful task, I know this sounds it's so easy for me to say this, but I guarantee it's a whole process of convincing your mum, oh, I don't want to play piano anymore, this is my purposeful task. I recommend something that Ali Abdal did. I was explaining this to a friend of similar interest to me, so it's general self-improvement, watching people like Hamza, Alex Hormozy, Alex Becker, Iman Gaji, because he has a sort of strict mum that really wants him to compete with other children like me. So his mum puts him through literal like speaking lessons, public speaking lessons, all sorts of gym. Like, his mum is basically his motivator, like one of his big motivators in life. And his mum literally tells him to go to the gym, like forces him to go to the gym, like even when he doesn't want to. And so this mum is sort of harboring masculine energy and trying to better his child, which isn't a bad thing, by the way. But the fact she is very, very competitive and almost gets a little bit toxic is a little bit bad, because she likes to compare her son to other children, and if other children are winning, she makes her son suffer even more in probably categories he didn't want to go in the first place, like randomly playing violin or something. But the point I was explaining to him was that if your mum doesn't allow this, if your mum guaranteed doesn't allow you to quit everything else, everything you're pursuing, like piano or something, then just perhaps do your purposeful task as a side hustle. So I gave him the analogy of Ali Abdal, which is he was pursuing his medical degree, and like he was being a medical student, and he wanted to become a doctor because his whole family are doctors. Like every single one in his family is a doctor. And it would be odd for him not to be a doctor as well, right? But he fought against all odds, and literally for years he pursued his medical degree, and on the side he was building his productivity self-improvement channel. And perhaps this productivity improvement, like self-improvement channel, was his purposeful task. I genuinely think it is, because he's worked hard towards it, and now he's like doing it full time instead of pursuing a medical degree, and he's just sort of given up on the doctor thing to fully pursue this. So my advice to him was, if you feel like something is your purposeful task but you're not ready to 100% commit on it, and perhaps you have some parents looking over you and you're not really comfortable in having that hard conversation with your parents. I want to do this purposeful task, let me quit everything else. If you're not willing to have that, pursue it as a side hustle and see how it goes. As soon as you reach a little bit of success, you can show that to your parents, and then that will be a stack of undeniable proof for you to actually make that 100% focus and switch into the purposeful task. And so what I mean by 0 bad habits plus 20% constantly more happy is, once you've found this purposeful task, so perhaps you're pursuing this on the side like I told you before, but you'll find that you don't want to do your bad habits anymore. They don't appeal to you anymore. Because if you just think about it, every time a bad habit has struck, so perhaps scrolling on social media, watching porn, every time it strikes you, it's because either you're bored, sad, or just, you're bored. That's the main reason, is because you're bored. Or you're just like frustrated that you can't do any work. But with the bad habits, if you do your purposeful task, you won't feel like doing them anymore, because literally it feels like you're wasting time with it. You'd much rather to do some low-level task of your purposeful task. So for example, your highest task in your purposeful task, for me at least anyways, is recording, but your lowest is probably like at least the lowest like brain points needed, or lowest brain mental energy needed, is probably reading, or maybe titling and creating thumbnails for a video. That's like a lower end task. Of course it's still important, but it generally speaking requires less mental energy. And so because this purposeful task is so fun for you, the bad habits like porn, video games, all of them kind of die off, because your purposeful task becomes like an amazing video game that you're actually feeling progression for once outside in the real world. And then you kind of don't want to let go of this feeling, and then you just keep on doing like small tasks at the end of the day instead of bad habits. And then the 20% constantly more happy is just a side effect of your purposeful task, you doing your purposeful task. And even after like a few hours of doing your purposeful task, like even 4 or 5 hours after you've done this deep work block of just contributing to your purposeful task, you'll find that you still have this happiness. At least I find it anyways. And usually that feeling keeps on persisting, provided that I don't like fill my mind with garbage or something, fill my mind with a terrible movie, some propaganda, start scrolling on Twitter or something, which I don't even do anymore because I just want to work on my purposeful task. And so before I begin explaining what flow state is and the 4 stages of flow state, I want to give you a quote from Alex Hormozi himself. It's basically, what he says is, the man who loves walking will always walk further than the guy who's just walking for the goal. So if you love walking, you just keep on walking because you love it so much. If you literally still have this limiting doubt of maybe Andrew Tate or some influencer gave you in the finance industry, and they're saying just do the work no matter what, just get in the money no matter what the job is. But the thing is that every job you can reach a good amount of success, can't you? Just think about it. Every single job, most jobs, you can reach money and success if you try really hard in most jobs. So why wouldn't you find a job that you actually love? So perhaps this has been mixed in with the casual, just find your passion, guys. Find your passion for art and then just do art for a living. Perhaps this has been mixed in with that like conception, but we still want to make money, right? So this is the new type of thinking. To find a purposeful task, so perhaps it's your passion. It's genuinely your passion to do art, but to find your passion and to try hard to get money in it. So if you can, just think about it, if you can get literally success and money in every single job, or most jobs, then why wouldn't you find something that you really, really like? Because on the deepest, darkest days where your discipline has been drained and your willpower has been drained, your mental energy is low, who do you think will persist? The guy who loves the job and will literally like work 24/7, becomes like literally an Elon Musk type person who has a mission to do, literally loves his work, becomes a workaholic, or the guy who's literally just following Andrew Tate's advice of do the job to get money, just get the money for your family, provide your family with wealth, and then that's where you'll get your happiness. Who do you think will persist at the end and the deepest, darkest days? Who will persist? I guarantee you it's the workaholic that loves his job. So now we're going to get into the flow state task, and in this section we're going to be talking about how specifically to persist through what the flow state task is and how long you should wait until you get into it, like the struggle phase, release phase, flow phase, and recovery phase. So these are the 4 cycles that were discovered by Stephen Kotler. I'm pretty sure it's the guy that talks about flow. It's just the flow guy, all right? And he basically says that first you have to get through the phase of struggle. This is the phase of discomfort and your brain releasing these chemicals that make you feel uneasy, like cortisol and perhaps even adrenaline. And this is unsurprisingly the phase that most people bounce. Most people can't really stay in, and so they just quit the job and go work on a little task. And if you were to work 2 hours per week, you would actually just do this task instead of checking your emails. And you've probably heard that Elon Musk fired 50% of people in Twitter, and those 50% were probably the people who were just stuck in the struggle phase or literally just having fun. And this is the phase that most people are stuck in their whole entire lives. And literally, if you just think about it, it's kind of sad that they can't get through 10 to 20 minutes of just stress in their brain to the point of release and flow. And that's when you get the true work done with no thoughts in your head, and you actually make a difference in your business and get the big rocks moving, is what I'm trying to say. After this is release, the phase of release. So after struggle, this is where I think you are released from the struggle, but your brain needs a few minutes of downtime from all of the cortisol in your brain, built up cortisol, so it needs a bit of downtime. And the common advice online, so from me fully researching and getting all of the details for this section of this video, I found that on the phase of release, they all tell you to go walk outside in nature, do some deep breathing exercises, but I feel like that is a very dangerous thing to do, because of course you can go outside and have a walk and go in nature, play with your rabbit, play with your fucking pets, whatever, chat to family members, let your brain de-stress. But if you do that for too long, you may very well get back into the struggle phase. You may very well go out of the time limit and force your brain to go back into the struggle phase, which you'll literally be tormenting yourself at that point. So what I recommend you do is either just keep on working, but work at a lower brain rate. So a lower, just use your mental energy less. So perhaps just, if you're scripting a video, for example, just literally after struggling for 20 minutes, just sit there and stare blankly at the screen, and then you literally let the release phase pass in a few minutes, 5 minutes or so. That's, I believe, how long the release phase is. And if you really want to maximize your release phase, I guess you could just sit here and deeply breathe for like 5 minutes or so, and then you can get into the flow state. The flow state lasts around 90 minutes according to Andrew Huberman himself, and then it starts to drift off. A lot of people say you can be in here for like 2 to 3 hours, or even 4 or 5 hours, but as soon as it hits 90 minutes for the average man, and the guys who were in the study, to like, you know, the science study where literally they have a bunch of people and then they test their like flow state, and they got the average of 90 minutes, right? And this is the average guy, but perhaps it can be like elongated and lengthened with like meditation or something, and then perhaps it can be 2 and 3 hours, but generally speaking 90 minutes is good. And that's literally what Andrew Huberman does: 3 90-minute blocks of work every single day. And then an important point here is Andrew Huberman says don't expect the flow phase, the specific flow phase, so the struggle, release, flow, recovery. Don't expect the flow to be 90 minutes. Expect struggle and release and recovery to take up some of that 90 minutes as well. I think he says this because he doesn't want you to stress over the phase of the 4 phases of flow, and then like that will knock you out of flow or something. So this brings me to recovery phase, and this recovery, it's very important that you actually recover in this phase so that you can actually get into flow again. So after doing my deep work block, I kind of just keep on wanting to work on lower level tasks. I keep on thinking, oh, I've done my deep work, highest contribution, best task I can do, and now I'm gonna go do some low level tasks. No. The ideal scenario is to, at least in my opinion, to have another work block where you're focusing on small tasks. What to do in recovery? I genuinely think the best type of recovery is literally just taking a walk in nature, which I actually haven't done before, but it sounds like a good thing. And actually I've done it once or twice before, but unintentionally, and it does actually clear your brain a lot. And I must actually try that now. But honestly, there's basically no places to walk around here. It puts me in a depressive state, which is what I'm trying to say. Like, if I just go out in my neighborhood, there's no beautiful parks around. It's just, and if I go to a park, there's probably some like people smoking drugs and doing drugs at that park. So it's not really nice to walk. So what I prefer to do is NSDR, which is non-sleep deep rest. It's a sort of visualization and meditation exercise that you can just load up the prompt and the video on your phone. So just search up NSDR. It's basically mimicking a nap, but you don't actually need to fall asleep. And so I just do this with 10 minutes or 20 minutes, just search up NSDR, and there's actually one NSDR video by Andrew Huberman himself, and that's a great start. And then there's a 20-minute one which was also recommended by Andrew Huberman, which I now do. And the third thing is take a nap or go to the gym. And the third thing is take a nap, which is basically just NSDR, but actually taking a nap. But I don't really like taking naps because I've never been a nap type of guy. I've always been a one for all big session of sleep, deep sleep type of person. And literally, if I set a timer for 20 minutes, a power nap of 20 minutes, that's the limit, I think. I literally keep on stressing over and over, like I'm on the brink of sleeping, right? But then I stress, I'm only gonna have 16 minutes because I set the timer for 20 minutes, and then it's just, I don't end up getting any sleep, and I actually just naps don't work for me, is what I'm trying to say. And the fourth option is the gym. So the gym, actually, if you do a rigorous workout, generally from what I found is after that rigorous workout, so let's say you've had a big block of stressful work before, and then in the evening you do this, and then in the afternoon you do this big rigorous workout, and after the workout, from what I found, it puts me into such a relaxed meditative state. It puts me in a really zero thoughts and just like, okay, this is life is good, the type of state. It's honestly pretty relaxing, and I used to literally record after getting in that state. So I was like, I've done my rigorous workout, I'm walking back home in this relaxed state, and then I record. I used to record with this state, is what I'm trying to say. But this state can be a little bit unreliable, because think about it, because it also drains your brain mental energy a little bit from that workout. Although you get this relaxed state, you kind of just don't want to do anything anymore. Let's say you're faced in front of a hard scripting task or a hard mental journaling task to find out your deepest, darkest desires and your like false beliefs. You wouldn't really want to do that after getting this relaxed state, because especially for my circumstance, throughout the whole day I've been doing hard work, and after this relaxed state I kind of just want to eat dinner, spend time with my mum, and then go to sleep. Topic 2, an upward spiral routine. We're going to cover the main stuff you need to know to get a optimized biohacking CEO entrepreneur type of routine. I don't really know what your circumstances is. I don't know if your family like charges into your room. I don't know how your day goes. So I just want to give you some clear variables and like sort of facts, bro science facts, or literal actual facts I got from Andrew Huberman Lange. A whole plethora of facts is what I'm trying to say, for you to make your own routine or improve on it if you already have a routine. So before we get started with all of the facts, I want to address a self-limiting belief that you might have. Why routine? I heard routine is good, but it seems restrictive. And I'll tell you a Bill Gates story that I've heard before, or at least I've thought about and seen before. And when I was younger, so perhaps like 13 to 14, I'm not sure when, but when I was younger, I first discovered Bill Gates' routine in like a TikTok or in a literal like article website. I don't know exactly where I found this, but it was the first time of me seeing a strict routine, a strict CEO entrepreneur routine. And one point that really stuck out to me was literally bro had a select time, 5 minutes to check his phone, of which at that time I thought was completely crazy. And so me telling you this, I'm trying to convey the fact that perhaps it's time that you need. Perhaps it's time that you need to actually know that routines are good for you. Routines aren't this super depressing CEO Sigma thing. It isn't this constraining thing. It's more or so freedom. Having a routine is good because I'll give you another example. So from my habit tracker, I mentioned before the 3 days of productivity, right? So 70%, 85%, 95% happiness. So what I didn't tell you was that on the 4th day, I got hit with 10%. 10% productive happiness. Simply because nothing went according to my routine. I woke up late at 8:30 instead of 7 a.m. I got hit with events. So my mum came into my room and told me we were going to have breakfast with her friends, and then we were going to a farm to pick some vegetables. My point is, if you don't have a consistent, almost every day is the same schedule, then I truly believe, at least from my own experience, that it doesn't really bring you happiness. It brings you happiness to go at a farm and pick vegetables, have amazing dinner at an amazing restaurant with your mom's friends, and you can practice your social skills instead of actually working. But it doesn't bring true happiness, is what I'm trying to say. So the first fact is 2 to 3 deep work blocks with everything in between optimized for it. So what I mean by this is there's a quote from Alex Becker, right? Alex Becker is this like super cool ass CEO, Sigma male, like 4 a.m. protocol type of guy. And he says that he gets in like a few hours done what the average person gets done in a whole entire week. And that is the power of deep work blocks. So you know what, I'll give you another extreme tip. And this extreme tip is from Alex Hormozy. And have a timer that whenever you stop working or go off task, you just press it. And then that builds a habit in your mind to notice, even without the timer, to notice when you've gone off task. Like on the first day of me literally using this timer, it instantly built a habit of me. Like whenever I go off task, like I look at someone outside my window, or I go downstairs, or I think about going downstairs, or like to get coffee or something, I press the timer. But then I just realize that I'm going off task, and then I get back on the task. And so that's a pretty extremist type of thing that you can incorporate to your schedule to get ahead in front of everyone. And what I mean by with everything in between optimized for it is that you have to treat these deep work blocks with a little bit of respect. I've always been optimizing for the next deep work block. I've always been looking forward ahead. What should I do now to make my deep work block later on better? If you ever experienced this before, if you ever ate a big plate of noodles or spaghetti, you'll feel afterwards that you have this sort of relaxed feeling when really you're sort of lethargic and tired now, if you really think about it. And so from thinking all of these things beforehand to make my future self like happier and better, to work on my second deep work block, I think beforehand, what should I eat? And I probably shouldn't eat until I'm 100% full, so that my digestive system doesn't like get too much work to do, and every single energy point, like every single cell's focused on this part of my body, which is digestion. If you think about it, digestion is pretty hard to do. If you just think about it, let's say you're eating a carby meal like a croissant or something, and then to turn that croissant, I know this is a little bit gross, but turn that croissant into this like brown matter, you know how hard that is. Like I can't even begin to conceive how to do that. But turning this like nice pastry into this brown substance, that's kind of hard. And so if you just think what your body's doing and the amount of energy it requires, it begins to give you an idea of what you really should eat and what you shouldn't eat. So for example, now I only eat like low amount of carbs and more so whole foods like meat and vegetables. And that provides a much more welcoming effect when I get into my second deep work block. So number 3 under the category of topic 2.1 is have the idea that everything should be optimized. 3 main things: sleep, diet, exercise equals an upward spiral. What I mean by this, I think I briefly mentioned this before, but what I mean by this is, let's say you have very good exercise. You have a very rigorous exercise session, a gym session, that will probably improve your sleep, right? That will probably make you get knocked out in your bed. Like, let's say you exercise in the afternoon and then you come back home, eat dinner, and then like shower and then chat with your mom, spend time with your mom. You go to sleep. That sort of makes your time to fall asleep sort of faster, right? So that's a good example of how it feeds into sleep. So exercise feeds into sleep, and then diet feeds into sleep as well. And then like it's supposed to be a good flywheel of feeding into each other. So if you optimize your diet to have your last meal of the day at least 3 or 4 hours away from bedtime, then you'll have a good level of deep sleep. The 4th fact under the category of 2.1 is 1 minute of planning saves 10 minutes in action. This is a quote from Brian Tracy and his book Eat the Frog. So what this means is literally if you just plan ahead of time. So let's say it's nighttime and you're planning for tomorrow. You make a to-do list and specifically what time you do what time you eat. And we're going to get into how we do this later on in topic 2.2, but you get a nice routine of planning like every single block. So every single minute, what are you doing at that minute? and then you have like these blocks. Oh, at this time I'm going to be scripting, and at this time I'm going to have lunch, and at this time I'm going to have a recovery. After lunch I'm going to go on a walk in nature. If you just have a to-do list instead of juggling thoughts in your brain to do tomorrow just to work, it saves you so much more time in action. So the general rule here is 1 minute of planning ahead of time saves you 10 minutes in action in like the battlefield. So just picture this as you're looking into a battlefield of where like two armies are going to fight together. You're looking from a far distance and you can think clearer rather than just being in the battlefield. Because if you're in the battlefield, you're just focusing on action, right? You're focusing on killing the enemy and just doing one action, which is just beat the enemy. Whereas if you're in like the planning table of like, if you're a general, you're planning, we're going to go in from this direction, you have a lot more space to think. And so the fifth point under the category of 2.1 is have the mindset that getting a perfect week of routine, including weekends, will literally take you a week or so. Just think about it. If you're trying to perfect a week of routine, so let's say Monday to Friday, it's basically the same. And then on Saturday and Sunday, it's a little bit different because maybe you're not going to the gym at that time. Maybe you're spending more time with your mum or just whoever in your family, and maybe you're doing something else. But it will literally take you a week or so to trial and error your way through. A good idea to have here is you either learn or you win. So there is no failing in finding your perfect week of routine. You either like sort of fail, but you learn from that, or you win and find a good staple in the routine. So let's say you're trying something out. I'm gonna go to the gym in the morning. Oh shit, that's kind of bad for my productivity. I'm in a relaxed state, but I can't really do work. I don't feel like doing work anymore. You learn from doing that like one thing. You learn from experimenting is what I'm trying to say. You position it at the afternoon, for example, and then now you win because you treat it as like something to prepare you for bed and something to de-stress your brain from work. Topic 2.2, routine making / optimization. Now, if you already have a routine, it's literally just 3 things quickly to go by. First point under the category of 2.2 is start by planning out the time you eat, the time you wake up and sleep, basically the anchors of the day. So if you are literally just starting a routine, you're literally just starting to make your to-do list and your timed routine. So 7 a.m. wake up, 7 a.m. wake up, get some sunlight, drink some water. And then that takes you like 15 minutes or so. And then you go upstairs, meditate for 30 minutes. And then that brings you to 7:45 and then you begin work. So this is the example of the time routine. But for you to make this routine faster, you can literally just time out the time you eat. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, if you're eating like 3 meals per day. I only eat 2 because breakfast, it's allowing yourself to digest again. And honestly, you can just work for a few hours and then have your lunch a little bit earlier than usual. And then that's basically how I'm operating right now. Just lunch and dinner, 2 big meals with high fat amounts. And that's how I'm functioning to a good degree right now, because I just see breakfast as a like waste of your morning. Basically, if you just eat some fucking bread, some like peanut butter sandwich, just what are you doing? Just don't do that. Just work for a few hours and then you literally find that your lunch tastes better as well, because you've done the literal deep work and you feel like you've earned that meal. This is such a common thing from so many different Hamza, Andrew Tate himself, like they all discuss this idea of earning that meal. Get some coffee and some salt, because honestly, if you get the cravings for like the first few days, you will get the craving for morning if you just try this new thing. But to some like good tip that I learned from the channel, what I've learned is that if you're feeling hungry, it's probably that you're lacking salt. So have your coffee, add a little bit of salt, which is a gourmet tip, by the way. Makes the literal coffee taste better. Add some salt and you'll feel a little bit better, I think. But start by planning out when you eat, what time you wake and sleep, and anchors of the day. So if you're going to the gym specifically at this time with a friend and you've like solidified this, use that as an anchor to plan out your routine first and then work from there. The second thing is have your last meal of the day around 3 hours from sleep. So this is something I mentioned before, but the longer and the further away your last meal of the day is from bedtime, generally speaking, is the more high quality sleep you'll get. This is some bro science, by the way. If you have all of that food stuck in your stomach and you're not really digesting it overnight, it's slowed digestion is what I say, or it's a bro science way to think about it. It literally ferments in there and it makes a fucking mold in that shit, and it's just not good for you. That's like the weird way of thinking of it, but it kind of makes sense in a way. And the third thing is highest contribution task first. If you were to work literally 2 hours per week, what task would you do? 2 hours per week, what would you do? And this is your highest contribution task to your work. So contribution means like you're contributing to your task. What is your highest important task? And to do that upon basically waking up, and then it just makes sense from a common sense. I can't really think back to when I didn't think this, but it just makes sense to do your highest important task first thing in the morning when your brain's fresh from literally getting cleaned overnight with all of these brain fluids from sleeping. It just makes sense, right? Topic 2.3, sleep. This is a mini guide on how to sleep good, and I actually will be having a full sleep guide coming soon, but this is the basics. So get a lot of sunlight in the morning so that in the evening, even if you look at like blue light from your phone, you can still fall asleep easily. So this is another thing I've learned from what I've learned, the channel what I've learned, is that if you get a lot of sunlight in your eyes in the morning, and like of course it's beneficial for vitamin D if it gets on your skin, you'll generally find that even at night, if you've been watching blue light stuff on your phone, and the best case scenario is you make it into warm light, so get a blue light filter on your PC or on your phone, and from what you find, you can actually still fall asleep and get some pretty good deep sleep if you literally just like wake up and look at sunlight. Number 2 under the category of 2.3 is sleep. 1 hour before bed, please stop working. Now the general consensus is 1 hour before bed, stop technology, but I think the more important, if you are a young ambitious man, is stop working 1 hour before bed to sort of give some respect to your future self for tomorrow. Just like delay gratification in a way, if you enjoy your work, to allow yourself good sleep and good rest so that tomorrow you can work even better and with higher efficiency. This is once again like some common sense thing, but a lot of people don't have this in their brain, so I'm just mentioning it now. And something that's really interesting is Tim Ferriss's like night routine. If you just look it up on YouTube, I'm not sure if it's actually just called Tim Ferriss's night routine, but what he does before bed is literally just stop working, get into his like hot tub, and then just relax and like start fucking foam rolling himself with like his water bottle. And it's just a bunch of pretty cool stuff. If you just look at that, you'll probably get why people stop working like 1 hour before bed. So this is the third point, which is rigorous workout. So I mentioned this before, but getting a rigorous and hard workout beforehand, before sleeping in the afternoon, will prove to it will literally make you need 2 or 3 more hours of sleep, depending on how rigorous the workout is. But it makes you fall asleep so much more faster, provided you're not like watching some stimulating or doing some stimulating work before your sleep. So the fourth point is last meal 3 hours before bed. Again, this is like super important, and I mentioned it before, but it is actually so important. I'll tell you a story. On that day, on that 4th day of where I got 10%, so like my 3 days of productivity gradually getting to 95%, on the 4th day where I was going like to the farm and having breakfast with my mum's friend, on that day, I had literally dinner like 1 hour before bed, and I went we had dinner at a restaurant until like 9 something, and I went back home, took a shower, and then sleep. So basically like probably 30 minutes before bed, and then guess what happened? I didn't feel like I had a solid place to rest. I was just tossing and turning all night long. And then and then literally like after 4 or 5 hours of me on that bed, tossing and turning, I finally got some deep sleep of where I felt like I was in place and secure so that I can sleep. Like, it just felt off so much, and I was like literally hugging all of my pillows to feel in place, right, so that I can sleep. But it just didn't feel like I was able to rest. It's such a bad feeling, so that's why I recommend this. Number 5 under the category of 2.3 is more high quality sleep equals more high quality work. It's again common knowledge. If you have good sleep, you'll be able to work longer and with a higher quality. But obviously don't oversleep, because you'll feel groggy and you won't have that discipline anymore. I want to get a lot of sleep so I can get a high quality work, and then you sleep till like 9 or something. Generally speaking, it kind of gives you an instant loss to start the day. I can't explain this feeling like very well, but it's you know, when you wake up at 5 a.m, if you've ever woken up at 5 a.m, you're a little bit more tired than usual, but you get this super like productive Batman feeling. I woke up at 5 a.m, I'm disciplined. And then that carries out into your work. Whereas if you're waking up at 9 a.m, like even purposefully, it sort of makes you weak in a sense. It sort of like provides you a loss in the subconscious loss in your brain, and it just makes you weak. So number 6 under the category of 2.3 is, if you have nose problems when you're speaking, try a nose strip. So an Alex Hormozy nose strip, or invest in an air purifier. So something that Alex Hormozy did before he even discovered nose strips was just like move his nose over here, and like this is how he slept every single night. And then that's supposed to like unblock your nose a little bit. And so as soon as he invested in nose strips, he just left it on all day because it led to him breathing better. And breathing better is just a basic health requirement. And obviously you can invest in an air purifier if dust is the problem. And then honestly, that would like save you so much hassle and friction to start up your day and be productive. Topic 2.4, diet. Number 1 is no breakfast. So I briefly mentioned this again because I love making videos so much and I love speaking. Number 1, no breakfast, only black coffee with salt. So this is literally what I mentioned before. No breakfast, you'll be more productive. I genuinely think, at least from my own experience, and only black coffee with salt to give yourself that caffeine boost. And a good tip here from Hamza Ahmed himself, chug it. So I used to literally bring a nice cup of coffee to sip, and it's so nice and cozy and warm. If you chug it, you get this instant hit of caffeine, and it's like it makes your heart go boom, boom, boom. But honestly, it provides so much more like of a caffeine effect, and it helps you with your work more than just like sipping it. And then the salt just helps you like fight your cravings basically. Number 2 is apple cider vinegar before lunch. So even if you have no carbs in your lunch, you will still require a little bit of digestion. The best case scenario is literally just a steak, in my humble opinion. That's literally what works best for me. It's just like a piece of steak. And just in case you're wondering what the best slice of steak is, I generally think it's ribeye, because it's got a good amount of fat dispersed out, and it's more delicious in my opinion. But a lot of people prefer like, what was the other thing called, just another piece that is literally all lean meat and then there's one piece of fat there. I like ribeye, alright? But even if it's a steak, it requires digestion to turn it into some fucking brown manna shit. And the best thing you can do here is have apple cider vinegar 20 minutes before lunch. This increases your like stomach acidity or something. This is on bro science, but it increases your stomach acidity and it like makes your digestion better, and then it's just a healthy thing to do. And then from what you'll find, at least this is literally a tactic that I used in Malaysia times. So in Malaysia, you literally only eat noodles with a little bit of protein. At least that's a big part of like the Asian culture over there. It's just noodles and a lot of carbs. So rice, noodles, bread, a lot of carbs. So I think I used it to cope over there, to get over that like carb sort of carb tiredness is just apple cider vinegar. And from you, what you'll find is if you get this apple cider vinegar, like 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, mix that with a cup of water, drink that beforehand, you'll find that you won't get affected with that carb tiredness as much as you think. The third point under the topic of 2.4 is less carbs for lunch, more carbs for dinner. This is, once again, like so common knowledge for me by now. It's so normal for me, but perhaps you haven't heard this before. Less carbs for lunch because you still want to work in the afternoon after your lunch. You still want to do that second work block, but more carbs for dinner, because for dinner you can literally like carb up and then it will make you a little bit more tired, and then that'll prepare you to sleep. This is sort of like half bro science and half human, because or maybe it was Tim Ferriss. I don't know who exactly it was, but it was some smart biohacky type of guy. And yeah, he said carbs for dinner because it'll make you sleepy and it'll make you have a better night's sleep. Number 4 under the category of 2.4 is stop having caffeine 10 hours before bed. So caffeine has a half-life, and this is something I learned from either Andrew Huberman or Alex Hormozy, which is basically if you have bedtime at like, if you go to bed at 8 p.m, stop at 10 a.m. So 10 hours, that's literally like a 10 hours interval. And just this is not only because like caffeine will stop you from sleeping, but this will actually make you sleep better, believe it or not. This is some odd thing I've heard from, I think, Ryan Doris, so the flow guy. If you just search him up on YouTube, flow guy or Ryan Doris, and he said that if you time it correctly, yeah, caffeine completely leaves your body by the time you go to sleep. You'll get that caffeine crash. You get that sort of caffeine tiredness when all caffeine leaves your body, and then all of the sleepy chemicals can bind to the receptors again. You'll get that crash and you actually sleep better. And just as a side note, I guess you can sort of see now how everything leads together. How everything is like a giant flywheel and just like feeding back into each other. Because everything I've mentioned about sleep before, no strips, and eating your last meal 3 hours before bed, and the workouts leading to a better sleep, you can just kind of get this flywheel by now. I'm pretty sure you're kind of getting this, right? I hope. And so an actionable step before the last topic 3 is take all variables in this topic 2 section. So topic 2.1, topic 2.2, topic 2.3, topic 2.4, everything I've covered in topic 2. Take all of the variables. So I will have timestamped this video, so if you forgot something, you probably can just look at the timestamps and remember, and then actually like recall that on paper so that you actually remember it. Recall it by yourself, so it would actually do the algorithm and like my YouTube studio statistics better if you watch back to the videos, like watch this section again. But for your own benefit, I generally recommend that you recall it on paper. So perhaps after I mention this actionable step, like recall one by one, just like look at the timestamp title and just remember what happened and what I said in each point. And then from recalling that on a piece of paper, everything, like you write it by yourself basically. Recalling that information from your brain, you've basically learned it at that point. It's gone through your brain, and this is something I learned from Jordan Peterson, which is pretty helpful. And then from writing all of these things down, you can just sit there with like staring at all of these variables, and then have like on the side literally your routine right there, and then you can think on how to implement this to your routine. Like all of these variables I mentioned, you can think, how do I implement all of these on my routine? Have them side by side, and then that is how you actually like make this video, this whole entire like hour-long video, useful to you, and so that you don't literally waste your time in this video. This is probably the most important actual step. Topic 3, quick fast tips for you to get into flow, get into sleep, just good things that relate to this video basically. Number 1 is mini wall breaking. So whenever you feel resistance to a topic, let's say I'll just give you my example. After one of my lunch breaks, so I ate some rice and some beef mince, some like Asian dish. Specifically, it was Thai basil beef mince. It's supposed to be pork, but I like beef more, so beef mince, Thai basil on rice with an egg. And after eating that, I was going to take a cold shower and do some NSDR to recover from the carb crash and all of the work I've done so far, let my digestion work a little bit, and hopefully I can get back to work. But I felt the resistance, and I was pissed off by this resistance to timestamp my video. So even after posting these videos, I still have a work bout to do. I still have to scan through the entire hour-long video and find all of the points I said. Topic 1, topic 2. I have to find all of these and timestamp it for you to like easier access my video. Like skip to points that you really want to watch, or perhaps just have a like general idea of what this video is about and what I'm going to talk about. So I was pissed off at myself for having this wall in my brain, so I was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna take a cold shower on NSDR, none of that. I'm gonna fucking do timestamping first. And then I broke through that tiny wall of resistance, and then I got a pretty good feeling out of it. I got into flow again without doing any NSDR, any cold shower. It just felt good, right? And it gave me a productivity feeling that lasted for a very, very long time. So perhaps breaking these mini walls of, maybe you're trying to read a book, you have a stack of books and you've only like half read all of them, and you're pissed off by yourself that you can't, that you feel this wall in, like, you want to read a book, right? But then your brain presents you a wall that, oh, I don't want to read the book. You take the book, you read 2 pages, you've broken the wall. And then from breaking this wall, it often leads to a long time of productivity. After that breaking of the wall, you can genuinely find yourself working like 2 hours more from out of nowhere. And I guess you can count that as your second deep work block. Number 2 is, if you drink coffee, drink it 90 minutes after waking up. Between the 90 minutes, drinking caffeine won't really help. This is a fact from Andrew Huberman himself. And he says that drinking coffee in that 90 minutes of waking up, it won't really help you. It won't give you the caffeine needed, because all of your receptors are blocked right now by like adenosine or like cortisol or something, I'm pretty sure. And then after that 90 minutes, it begins to leave, and then you can actually drink caffeine, and then you'll actually get the effect. So the best thing here to actually gain energy in the 90 minutes is stare at the sun and drink a electrolyte drink. So don't buy those like weird packets of elements. Literally get water, half a lemon, and electrolyte drink, and then that'll reboost your lost electrolytes and minerals overnight, because you've been dehydrated for literal 9 hours if you get 9 hours of sleep. And a good thing here is also take Sundays off caffeine. So have Sundays off of caffeine. So let's say every day of the week you're drinking caffeine. If you take Sunday off, then you sort of reset your caffeine sensitivity, and then caffeine will work better for you, hopefully. The third tip is meditation for 13 minutes consistently over a long period of time increases concentration. This is another thing from Andrew Huberman, which he says that 13 minutes, it doesn't have to be exactly 13 minutes. It can be 15, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. But an average of 13 minutes consistently over a long period of time, it has been shown to increase your concentration, and perhaps it elongates your flow state to 2 hours rather than 90 minutes. And that's like my own bro science conclusion, by the way. The fourth is chamomile tea for apigenin. So this apigenin is like a sleep, like one of those sleep chemicals that like puts you to sleep. So not before bed, like around dinner time, I will start drinking chamomile tea, because if you drink this tea before bed at night, you'll like wake up wanting to piss, and then you have to go to piss, and then that'll ruin your sleep. So ideally have chamomile tea like around evening time when you're about to go to sleep, but maybe 2 hours before, so that like that liquid actually goes out of your system, so that you don't have to go piss if you wake up. Number 5 is habit tracker for tracking your day's progress and why. So this has been the biggest help. So habit tracker in general is good. I got this from Hamza, but a good thing to add to your habit tracker that not Hamza, no one has really told you about is the tracking. aspect of it. So from having a habit tracker, you can view how your week has gone by. So let's say you've been doing the habit tracker for a week. If you have this, like, if you have the variable at the top, so make your bed, meditation, exercise 30 minutes per day. If you have your habit tracker, you have this extra variable that says like productivity, happiness. So in short, just like PH or something. And then of each day, at the end of each day, you rank your amount of productivity, happiness you've ranked in the day. So perhaps you've done a 5-6 hour deep work block, and then you've done more again. It'll probably be like 95 or something. And then you begin to get an idea of what days, like what things work. So I'm currently experimenting with this, but I'm trying to add more tracking to this habit tracker so that I can rely on my sort of own feeling rather than buying health trackers like the Aura Ring or Whoop, so that literally I can improve my own perception of my health and how I feel instead of these like machines doing it for me. And the last and final tip under the category of topic 3 is whenever you fail a day or put the wrong task in the wrong time, then simply have the thought, now we have learned. So this is sort of a subversion of the what was it again? Shit. Okay, so getting the perfect week of the routine, including weekends, will literally take you a week or so, and getting the day's routine correct takes days. So this is literally, if you fail a day and like put the wrong task in the wrong time, so if you put the gym too early in the morning and it doesn't work out for you, don't worry, you've literally just learned. I have a quote up there, and it's literally volume negates luck. You either learn or win. And I have, you either learn or fail, but like crossed out the fail, and then I have win on top. So you don't really, if you can adopt this mindset of I'm going to learn every single time I fail, then this is a pretty strong mindset to have, and you'll probably outcompete a lot of people by doing this. And so if you've watched this far, I actually love you. And you may be actually like liking my type of content. If you like my content, maybe you should join my Discord and we can talk about anything we like. And there's a bunch of brothers in there on the same path as me, and all of them are actually kind of smart people. Like, they're a filter above your average comment, like fucking basement dwelling motherfuckers like that are just like on their computers, they're crouched over. They're a level above, they're multiple levels above the average commenter and the average hater, basically, and the average edit watching person especially. And so if you join my Discord server, you have literally, there's only like 5 people in there, so I guess you have a close type of feeling to everyone in the Discord server, and that acts as a general filter with smart people, because everyone in my Discord server has a sort of passion they are pursuit that they are working towards. So one of which is literally trying to sell his like coaching services on Fiverr, and then now he's making a website. One of which, like 2 of which have like their own self-improvement channels, of which I've sort of helped. I guess I've helped him. But if you want, join my Discord server. If you've watched this far, you clearly like me or my videos or my video style, and in which case, if you found this video valuable, then it would actually help me if you shared this video to a friend of yours that's maybe getting into self-improvement, or you're trying to motivate him to get into self-improvement, or yeah, just help the brother out. All right. I spent a lot of time working on this script, and yeah, I'm really proud of this script this time, and my recording this time, because honestly, I'll just get deep and dark. I was planning to make a quick video on this, but before this video, I was experimenting with a visualization. I was experimenting with me just constantly recording over days and days and days, and literally smashing my head on the keyboard days and days and days, and I was like visualizing the sound as well to make it more realistic, and the texture on my table and mouse to make it more realistic. And then at the end of my like 70% of the visualization was just me working and like achieving my goals basically, and like attributing that working to my goals. And honestly, I'll save this shit for later, right? Because this is such a juicy details. But essentially, for the other 30% of the visualization, it actually made me cry. Like, genuinely, it made tears come out of my eyes. That was the first time I was doing that. It kind of freaked me out because that showed me the power of how like vivid visualizations can be, because your nervous system literally treats like the image in your head and your visualizations as real. It basically can't deter the difference. There's basically no difference to your like nervous system, and so it just made me like literal like tears coming out of my eyes, and it was so fucking beautiful, bro. And I believe that was part of the reason why this video was well, at least I think from now that this video is better than a lot of different videos. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, love you, bro. If you watched this far, love you, bro. In a bit, bro.